Andre come out the other night. How's he looking as far as going forward?
He practiced today with some limited action, but he looked pretty good moving around today.
How about Frank?
Frank had more active workout today, but did not practice. And Mario practiced, and he'll be questionable for tomorrow.
When do you think Frank might be able to come back?
We don't know. I'm just taking it a day at a time with the trainers, but they are starting to amp up his workouts a little more, so that's good news for me.
That was the positive step that he was able to do a little bit more today.
Yes.
Zoe is like averaging 19-something points in the last 5 games, playing pretty well. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
He's, I thought the injury kind of knocked him out of his rhythm there for a little bit, but, I really feel like over the last, 3 weeks to a month, you can see him starting to get his footing back and starting to play well. And, I think that for him, I think it's finally all starting to slow down a little bit. And the way that he can score the ball and the way that he works at it and studies the game, I expected him to start playing good basketball at some point.
You have to kind of walk the line with he's extremely aggressive, and sometimes...
He is, and that's part of his growth, is how do you take that aggressiveness and that playmaking, that ability to get to the rim and make plays for yourself, how do you take it and also use that to make plays for other folks? And so that's part of his player development. And the film we watch is seeing the floor, where is his outlets when he doesn't have it for himself. All of those areas are the areas that we're really working with him. But, I'd rather have to tone him back than to have to light a fire.
How important is it to get the organization kind of uncovered a guy like that, undrafted, that sort of thing?
I mean, you think about it, obviously, Kevin Knox was an easy call, 9th pick and all of that. But for Scott Perry and his staff and Steve, to really go out and evaluate this crop of young guys that was coming out and to be able to pull out a Mitchell Robinson and Alonzo Trier at the 36th pick in a 2-way contract, I really thought that's exceptional work. And for them to see those things in these guys and knowing that they're the type of guys I like, I really commend them for that.
With Kevin, and tell me, obviously disagree, but it seems like one of the things he struggled with a little bit is kind of court vision, seeing the court when he's driving and things like that. So is that the kind of thing that can be learned and fixed over there?
Yeah, it's the same thing we're doing with Zoe. And a lot of it, with young guys is that, when you're just surviving, you're just looking at that hoop, and wanting that ball to go in. You're not looking at the various things that's going on out there. A lot of times you predetermine what you're doing, Kevin had gotten out of that for a while. And when he hit his struggles, which happens with most young guys, they go back to old habit. And so, he's relying on what he knows, which is scoring. But again, that's something that we spend a lot of time on with he and Zoe, watching the film, pick and roll reads when you're in the post, coming off a catch and shoot when you don't have it, seeing it ahead of time and being able to hit that guy in the right moment and not miss that moment.
I was going to say, is there something specific you do? Like, how do you address that?
You got to just show them. You constantly show it on the film. You show them in practice. You stop them in practice when they get caught holding the ball and they get caught taking a tough shot. You stop it and you say, hey, okay, what else do you have? All right, I see that guy in the corner there. Okay, that guy's on the baseline. Here's my outlets. Here's A, B, and C on the checklist. And, eventually they start to see that a little more clear and they get more comfortable making those plays.
In your career, has there been a guy who's kind of made the jump there in terms of that stuff that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I think and all the scorers that I've coached had ended up becoming good assist guys. And it's just, again, it's seeing how that defense is playing. You're seeing where that second defender is at a lot of times. But they all have to go through it, where they limit their bad shots to make other people better and understand the responsibilities of a guy that gets a lot of shots.
It looks like Mitchell is developing, but he's more understanding of he's blocking shots, keep them inside, grab the ball, his rebounding. It's like he's fine-tuning his game.
I think it's again, as much as it's suffering for everybody when you lose. Fans, coaches, players, everybody suffers when you're losing. But for me, I had to keep my head below that and just keep looking at the incremental improvement, in each guy. And that's what you're seeing with Mitchell is just, for all of these young guys, they got to take a lap around this track before it really starts to show, if they understand it or not. And, we're getting closer to the end, and he's starting to see the game a lot clearer and a lot slower, and, he's starting to be able to make adjustments during the game that he wasn't able to do before.
Going back to Frank, when you look at the future of this team, how do you see him fitting in to this organization?
Well, I mean, again, I said it from the beginning. Frank is such a multi-talented, skilled guy that I can use him in so many different areas, whether on the ball or off the ball. I see him as a top-rated defender, a guy who will be able to take out, different people on the other team. And again, it's I'm not force-feeding Frank into any slot. What I want him to do is get comfortable and consistent with his playmaking, comfortable and consistent with his shot, and eventually start developing who he's going to be in this league, permanently. But I think who he is ultimately is a guy you can put out there with anybody.
How do you think that, Jay Kidd's words to Dennis will benefit him moving forward?
Well, it was an instant, I saw an instant change. Dennis picked up full court for the first time for most of his minutes the entire Phoenix game. And so that was something I know Jason talked to him a lot about, is being able to impact the game even when you don't have the ball in your hands. Because that's the type of player Jason was. And, they exchanged information, and, hopefully I can get them to where they build a really good relationship and feel like they got another resource that they can lean on from a point guard position.
People don't talk about him as much as compared to the other young guys, but what did you see in Dotson's game this year? And, I think he's averaging 15 in the last 10.
Yeah, and he's just, I would say out of all of the young guys, he's been the most consistent from start to finish. He's been a guy that's just been steady no matter if I started him or brought him off the bench. Even early on when he wasn't playing and I would throw him in, late game without even playing the whole game, he would come in and really play well. And so I've really been, he's been a pleasant surprise with his growth and his consistency, and he's still got a big window of room to grow.